Hello and welcome once again to the TryPod, and this week we'll do a mid-season NFL preview. Let go!
There you go.
We got to give the people.
What do we give them, Bo?
Give the people what they want. Welcome back, listeners. I know it's been a little while since we've had a pod, but this one's going to be a very special one today. And why is that, Sakib?
Man, I'm so excited for this pod. It's been a long time coming. It has been a little while since we've done a pod. We're going to do an NFL pod. It's a bit different format today. We didn't have any music, but we didn't need it.
We're not in the studio. We're not in the studio today, so I had to bring out my best singing pipes, and I hope you guys are impressed by that. But
I certainly was. But most importantly, I'm excited because it's been a long time coming. We've got a very special guest for you today. We've got the one and only Neddy from Neddy Given Sunday. How you going, Neddy?
I'm spectacular, and I'm so happy to finally hear that song in person.
Yes.
It's so much better live.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't have your phone too close to your ear, mate. That might have busted an eardrum for you.
It may have.
Mate, it's an honour for us to have you on the pod. You've been killing it this year for us. We really appreciate the work you do every week. For people who haven't seen it yet, Neddy writes up like an epic NFL preview every week. It's the funniest thing you'll read all week.
Yeah, definitely.
And you make money if you take his plays as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, sorry, what?
No, I mean, I was going to say, the guy's tipping 60%, but not only that. Awesome write-up. It's punny as hell. And, you're doing a great job, mate. What are your thoughts of the NFL season so far?
Man, it's been good. There's been a few surprises and not so surprises as well. The Patriots still scare the hell out of me. That's the thing. I think that's probably been the biggest shock. They just come out just wanting blood. But everything else hasn't been too bad. I think we've been pretty on the money with your guys' picks and with mine, so can't knock that too much.
That's it, man. It's been an awesome season. We said, NRL is our bread and butter, but we just love the NFL. We love watching it. Like, it fills that void, that footy void over the off season. It's been an epic season. There's superstars, as you said. The Pats are 7-0 every single week. A bit more talk about perfection.
Yeah.
So we've got Neddy with us. We're going to talk about all the games for week 9.
Yep.
And as we said, Neddy's nearly at 60% tipping. We've come off a red hot week as well.
Yep.
I want to just introduce Neddy a little further. Like, those who read his article, they know how funny he is. But for those of you who don't know him too well, we call him larger than life. Just a couple of examples. Like, you remember Joe's wedding, both are?
No.
No? He turns up.
It was good, Jacob?
Yeah, it was a ripper. Neddy turns up in
I'll just leave now. You guys can take over the pod.
I'm trying to remember what you were wearing, dude. It was he wears a blue suit. He's got these sweet kind of brown shoes. He's got a purple bow tie, like a aqua shirt, just wearing things. There's no way any regular person can pull that off. But it's just no one even blinks when Neddy's wearing it.
And he's not even black. You'd think someone wearing something like that would be like a gangster.
And I literally said to you, Neddy, you look like you're about to get drafted in the NFL.
Yeah, and I was wearing my Carolina Panthers pin on my vest.
Yeah,
yes.
And then Holly's wedding. Remember Holly's wedding, both are?
Nope.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, that was a good wedding, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think you had your Carolina Panthers socks on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you represent, so you must be having a hell of a season, mate. I mean, anyone from the state of South Carolina certainly is. Not only the college football, we could talk all day about college football as well. Yep. We won't today, but Clemson, number 1 in the college football
number
rankings.
1, in the first college football rankings.
Your Tigers, they're looking pretty hot. But of course, we've got to talk about the Panthers, 7-0, mate. I mean, how excited are you?
I'm pumped. I knew they were a good side because we were a bit unlucky with a few things last year. Like, our offensive line was putrid and we had a few injuries on our defensive front. But this year, even with Benjamin, when he got hurt, I thought that would sort of falter him a bit. But I think it's caused Cam to actually look towards other receivers. And when he leans on Olsen and that running game, they're just so much more effective, And there's so many players that stood up, like Kayvon Short stood up, and Josh Norman is just, he's a freak. I don't know what is going on with that kid, but he's outstanding. Yeah,
that's right. Norman is playing out of this world, and he's obviously one of your cornerbacks, right? So that's you guys are just defending the pass so well, and it is a passing league. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just Cam.
Yep, absolute monster.
The team on his back.
It's ridiculous,
And we'll probably talk a little bit more about Carolina when we preview their game. They've got another huge game this week.
Absolutely.
Could be an NFC Championship preview. Who knows?
Could be.
Yeah.
Very much so.
All right, Bo, what do we got?
Let's kick it off. We're going to need to go rapid fire. I know Neddy's a busy man. He's taken half an hour out of his Thursday to be with us. So we'll kick it off with Thursday night football. We got the Bengals hosting the Browns. This line's sitting at 11. The Bengals are favourite. Over-under is 45.5.
So, Neddy, I don't know if you've started your write-up this week. What's your feel on this game?
This one's a bit tricky because you got to wonder about the mindset of the Browns at the moment. They tried to trade one of their marquee players, Thomas, their left tackle, to Denver. That sort of went to shit heap at the last second. And they've also thrown Manziel in. Now, they could come at this game with like a pretty simplified playbook, just sort of hoping, that he can pull off these sort of plays. But on the defensive side as well, they're also missing Whitner and Hayden as well. And they're probably two of the best players the Browns have. So I think if the Bengals are going to falter, I don't think it's going to be against this team. Like, last year they got smashed by the Browns in the exact same game, and we saw them look shaky last week. I think that's going to cause them to actually play a lot better this week.
Yeah, and that's why we appreciate having you on the pod, and even when we don't speak to you on the pod, we always try and talk to you if we've got any questions about certain games.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Neddy really has his finger on the pulse of the NFL. You catch a lot of games on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
So you see a lot of games, and for me, I didn't know Joe Hayden was out. That's going to hurt, and you're right that trying to trade Thomas, it kind of almost shows that you're throwing the towel in a little bit, possibly. Because I was tempted to take the Browns here. My reasoning was the Browns have hung tough against just about everyone they've played this year. They've probably led the majority of their games this year.
They've covered 8 out of 8 first half spreads.
Yeah, there you go. So I feel like...
And then they lose, and then they capitulate.
But they've got the talent to compete. They're probably a little bit better than you realise, apart from the quarterback position. Johnny Football, I'm probably in the very small camp. I've still got my seat on the bandwagon. I want to let the kid play. I really think he's got a high upside. I remember him shredding the Alabama defense, years in a row, and Oklahoma, and I just refuse to believe that talent's just disappeared.
He's just constantly hungover.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he's still definitely in trouble. I think he got in trouble for smacking his missus, who was extremely hot, by the way, just 2 weeks ago.
You can't be doing that.
And I think he's still on the Terps a bit as well. He started this year, he was pretty good, and I think he was sort of, okay, I'm doing the right thing. But then the last couple of weeks, I think he's just had a blowout. But I'm a believer as well. He's got too much of a football brain to not be, in the league somewhere. But I think the Bengals, man, they're just as scary, and they loved beating up on him last year when he came in too. And I think they're just going to do it just again.
I remember exactly what you're talking about. Last year, it was a Thursday night as well, and it was 30-0 to the Bengals. And it was possibly Manziel's first start for that year. And he had an absolute shocker. But I just wonder, no one's going to remember that game better than him. And now he's had another year. You'd like to think that he's prepared, even more prepared, but then that's the question mark. Is he just a bit of a party boy?
Yeah, and that's the thing they were saying. Obviously, he went to rehab for a few weeks. He got out. He was sober for a few weeks after that. But then he was on the Terps again, obviously getting pulled over on the side of the highway and that kind of thing. But the thing is, I did kind of like the Browns in this spot. But as you said, Neddy, you're the personnel expert, and just the spot sort of appealed to me. Obviously, they lost by 14 last week, but the Bengals, they couldn't be rated any higher now by the bookies, and you're just paying a little bit of a premium on those, some of those unbeaten teams. But in saying that, now that you're saying that there's a few important guys out for the Browns, it might just be enough for me to sort of pass on this game. But we'll see what happens with this line as well, because I know that they hung it up at about 11.5, and it got smashed by the Sharps down to 10.5. Then Johnny Football was named in, and they put it back up to 11.5. So it's sitting at 11 at the moment. But I guess we might have to monitor where this line goes. But
we've spent probably longer on this game than we should on the other games. We need to pick up our pace.
Yeah.
But I do also have to say we could possibly look at the total under. Just the Bengals, a really good defensive team. The Browns on national TV against an undefeated side. They might really want to make a statement that, they can play.
Yeah.
And, Johnny Football, maybe he'll try and control the ball, try and keep it close.
Yeah.
Play conservative. But who knows? We'll look at that a little bit later.
All right, moving on. On our Sunday games, we got the Steelers hosting the Raiders. This line sitting at -4 for the Steelers, the over-under 48.
How do you see this one, Ned?
Man, I honestly like the Steelers in this just simply because I think everyone has heard for the last couple of weeks about how big upset games the Raiders keep winning. They haven't left the West Coast since week 4. okay, and going all the way across there to Pittsburgh, which are going to be hostile. They're going to lift. Whenever a team misses a quarterback, they tend to lift for that 1 or 2 games, really give it their all. And I think Bell is as good a player that they have to do that. They're getting told that they're rubbish. They've lost their best playmaker next to Antonio Brown, so they're going to lift. And I think this could be a bit of a trap for everyone throwing money on the Raiders at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. And the Raiders, the public has really jumped on the Raiders this season after a few early wins. And I looked at this line as well, and my immediate thought was that I kind of liked the Raiders. But then I thought to myself, like, the line is -4. Pittsburgh are at home. Are Pittsburgh really 1 point better than Oakland? I don't think they are.
Exactly.
Pittsburgh are a Super Bowl contender now that they've got Big Ben back. And I can only look with the line like that. I can only look towards Pittsburgh. I don't think Roethlisberger is only going to get better. He did look a little bit shaky last week. I know he threw like 3 or 4 picks. There could have been some more. But there was a trend that Big Ben's really bad off his first week back off an injury. So he's only going to get better. And I really think that Pittsburgh at home, laying 4 points, like they're better than 1 point better than Oakland, I think.
And Big Ben, he cost them the game last week. Ultimately, he really did, throwing that big right at the end. So I think he's going to come out all guns blazing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you boys. I could only look to Pittsburgh. I think Roethlisberger will be improved. I could also look at the over because I think Roethlisberger will play a little bit better this week. I think Pittsburgh is traditionally known as a really good defensive team, but in the last few years their defense has kind of declined and their offense has improved. And Oakland just put up 34 against the Jets.
Yep.
Oakland was a team we said was sharp to play earlier in the year. They were sneaky good, but the problem is now the secret's kind of out.
Yep.
And you're right, now they're probably, if anything, they're overhyped. And now, as we've said before, home field advantage is worth about 3 points in the NFL, but Heinz Field, probably 3 or 4 points.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much saying these two teams are even. That's not the case. Pittsburgh are better. We may have to look at laying the points there.
Definitely. We'll move on to the Vikings hosting the Rams. This line, the Vikings are 2.5 point favourites at home, and the total is low, 40 points.
Well, I'll start
I
us
know
off.
where you guys are seeing this one for sure.
I love the Rams. I absolutely love the Rams. I've got a big investment. I call it an investment because I think it's going to pay out on the Rams to win the NFC West. They're already holding the tiebreaker over Arizona and over Seattle. And we'll talk a little bit more about future value. That I think there is some, maybe after we've done the games. Can you get a 3? Are there any 3s out there?
Oh, look, I haven't checked. This is just on Bill Hill. But the plus 2.5, that's where it opened at.
Yeah.
And that's been bet. The minus 2.5 for the Vikings has been bet down. So it's juiced to the minus. So look, to be honest with you, I can see them just raising the juice because I think the public will be all over the Vikings. They love them. But I think as soon as this gets to 3, the Sharps will smash it. And I don't know if, I haven't seen a 3 out there so far, but if it gets to 3, I love the Rams, I agree.
Yeah, so the thing is, the Vikings were the number 1 team bet for season win totals over.
Correct.
All the Sharps were smashing the Vikings to have a really good year. I think they're expected to win over 8 or 9 games this year, which is a big improvement. Then they came out and dropped a stink bomb in week 1 against San Francisco and got, destroyed and threw everyone off the scent. Since then, they've covered every single game.
Yep.
And that's what you're talking about. The public has been betting the Vikings, and they've been winning. And when you're betting a team and winning, you keep betting it. So the public loves the Vikings. But I love the Rams because they've just, every single year, they've been getting beat up in the NFC West. They've been getting high draft picks. They got a lot of draft picks in the RG3 trade, which was a very successful trade, looking at where RG3's at now. They've bolstered that defense incredibly. They've had no QB at all for the last 3 seasons. Guys like Kellen Clemens, who was like 40 years old, and some guy called Stephen Austin playing. Austin Davis, that's it, yeah. Like now they've got an average, a slightly below average QB, which is a huge improvement. So I love that team. How do you see them, Ned?
That mob squad and what they were doing to the 49ers last week was just criminal. That front 7 of the Rams on defense is just brutal. I do see it, but the thing as well is that if you look last week against the 49ers, they had 2 big plays by their running back Gurley and by, a little wide receiver.
Good call on Gurley, by the way.
Is that Tavon Austin?
Tavon Austin, that's him. You take both of them off, they didn't lay that very many points against the 49ers. And all week, all across all the media, people have been saying how much better Todd Gurley is than Adrian Peterson. He's the next Adrian Peterson, all these sort of things. What's that going to do to motivate Adrian Peterson? So I think there's something to be cautious about. I think you're exactly right. If that goes up to 3, I think it'd be good value in taking the Rams, but I find it hard to look away from the Vikings, but I think it's just because they've been so good to me so far.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And to be fair, two pretty good teams. Vikings have home field advantage, and you know it's going to be close. And you're right. Yeah, I mean Peterson will be out to prove a point. But yeah, as both have said, you're a bit of a girly kind of guy, and you called it earlier in the season. Offensive Rookie of the Year. That's looking like money right now.
Absolutely, he's a freak. He's not scared. I feel like he's bigger than what he was at Georgia, and he's running straight over the top of blokes, just dropping the helmet, dropping the shoulder pads, boom, gone.
I cannot figure out which running backs are going to be good when I watch college football. Like, I thought Trent Robinson was going to be a stud in the NFL. I thought he was the next Adrian Peterson, if not bigger. And Gurley was awesome, and then he blew his knee apart in college, and I thought he's really going to struggle. You just see it time and again. Sometimes guys are never the same, but he's setting the league on fire, so I can't figure it out. But, I mean, that was an awesome call by you.
Is Richardson still playing?
No, I think I saw him begging for change in the Queen Street Mall a couple of weeks ago, mate.
Filling out people's tax returns.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on. We got the Bills hosting the Dolphins. This line's sitting right at 3, so they're saying these are even teams, and the total sitting at 44 to 44.5.
What do you reckon, Ned?
This one, it was weird. You sort of saw the Dolphins get beat down so bad by the Patriots last week. But if it wasn't for their defence, it would have been a hell of a lot worse. I thought they actually hung tough pretty good throughout the better part. It was just, they were always on the field. They never got to go off. That injury to Cameron Wake, I think, is massive. Absolutely massive for that defensive front. And I think the Bills off a rest. I'm willing to go to the Bills here, but there's a lot of variables. I think Tyrod Taylor's still iffy, and same with Sammy Watkins.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this game. I think the line is pretty much right. I think they're both pretty even teams, with the Bills with a 3-point home advantage. I seem to think I never really know what I'm going to get out of the Bills. I can stink it up one week and be awesome the next. And similar to the Dolphins, I know that after the coach changed, they've had a few good weeks, but Jesus Christ, everyone's too high on the Dolphins now. They think that a coach change and a couple of wins, has just made them awesome, even though they stunk it up last week. So I'm staying far away from this game. I don't like either side.
I can make a case for both sides. The case for the Dolphins is that they are quite talented and they're off a heavy defeat, and they've got 10 days to prepare, so they're going to come with a purpose. Not only that, the Bills already came into their house and slapped their wife around and ate food from their fridge earlier.
Don't do that!
Put on 40, it was 30-0 at halftime, the Bills in Miami. There's a bit of a betting trend that when you have two teams that are kind of even and the road team wins the first game, that the team that lost at home the first time round just circles the calendar and says, when we go into their house, we owe them one. On the other hand, the Bills should have a really strong home crowd. I feel like Rex Ryan hasn't quite moulded the exact team that he wanted, or what he's doing isn't quite working yet. But you got the issues with who's going to be playing QB for them. I'm going to be looking very close at the total because I think they're both defensively minded teams, and generally closer games are lower scoring. Not only that, both these teams are 3-4, I believe. A wild card is still up for grabs in the AFC. It's very much up for grabs. I think the loser here are going to find it so hard to recover for their season and make the playoffs. The winner absolutely can. Both teams with potential. So I'll be looking at the total, but nowhere else.
All right, let's
that's probably a good idea there.
Let's move on. We've got the Patriots hosting the Redskins. Patriots laying 14 points, total sitting at 52. Thoughts, Ned?
Just keep covering, don't they?
They do.
Keep throwing up that much, and you just get the sense that when they're not covering, even the game against the Jets, I just thought they're going to do this anyway. And because they just love rubbing it into the face of everyone about everything that they've done and everyone else in the league, that's how Belichick works. But it's just too many points. It's too many points for me to look at seriously.
I actually kind of like the Skins. I don't think...
No, tell the truth, mate. You don't kind of like the Skins. You love the Skins.
I love the Skins.
Why do you love the Skins
I just love the Skins. They're covering...
You like that?
You like that?
You like that?
Boom, 31-30. Last second comeback. 14 points is too much. Oh, there's a bird on my bonnet. Get off. Don't shit there, mate.
No, he's right. He's
right.
Keep going.
All right, anyway. There's too many points. The Patriots have just been raising their power rankings. You're paying a tax. I was listening to something this morning, a bookie in Las Vegas, that said the line should be right around 11.5, 12.5, but you're just paying that extra tax, and when that gets to 14, that's too many points to lay. I don't think the Redskins are terrible. They're not that bad. And 2 touchdowns is too much for me. I definitely lean the Skins.
And the Pats are 7-0, and everyone thinks they're unbeatable. I don't. I think they just haven't really been tested yet. I think Brady's played so well. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but we saw signs of decline from Tom Brady 1 or 2 seasons ago. I just find it so hard to believe that he can be getting better. He must be about 38 years old. Not only that, every single week, the Patriots lose another offensive lineman. And what we've said on the pod before is when players get injured and then that team loses, the public likes to draw nice and easy narratives or conclusions. So, they got some injuries, they lost. But when players get injured and a team keeps winning, people don't even notice.
Yep.
This Patriots offense is actually scarily probably holding together. It's a bit of a mash ward on the offensive line, and somebody's going to make them pay. I just don't think it's the Skins. I don't trust Kirk Cousins. I said I like Johnny Manziel. I like Johnny Football.
You don't like that?
I like RG3.
Oh, no.
Give me some RG3. You know me.
Dear God.
How do you see this one, Ned? You reckon you're going to stay away most likely?
Yeah, I'm probably going to stay away. Like, I think the safer bet would be to go on the Redskins, but like I said, they just do it at will, and it's in New England. And that Lewis, that running back kid that they've got is outstanding. So I'm staying away.
Yeah, fair call.
Fair enough. We've got a cracker of a game, the Panthers. This is yours, Neddy. Panthers hosting the Packers. Yep. Panthers getting 2.5 points at home. The total sitting at 46.5. Why don't you lead us off?
Well, I can't go against them, but I think the whole public is going to see what happened with the Packers, and automatically they just assume they're going to win. I think Aaron Rodgers, I was reading this morning, he's never lost back-to-back games. So again, public just smashing the crap out of the Packers.
Really?
He's never lost back-to-back games.
Jesus.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
So they've just jumped on it, but I think like their offense is nowhere near as high-scoring and dangerous as it's perceived to be. And I think that sort of plays into the hands of Carolina, but at the same time, like, I'm sort of waiting for Carolina to lose as well. Like, they're not a 16-0 team, but this is the end of their really hard stretch of the season. So I hope for all money that they go out, but I'm biased as.
That's fair enough.
You kind of sound tentative talking about this game, and I feel the same way as well, because we've spoken a lot about the quarterbacks, and people who don't follow the NFL need to understand that quarterback is the most important position in any team sport.
Yep.
There's no other sport where one player, let's say Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing this week, that line would move 10 points. There's no other player in any other team sport that moves a line like that. So, QBs are important. It's a quarterback's league, but take nothing away from Cam either. Now, Aaron Rodgers only had 77 yards passing last week.
Crazy.
They got belted on Sunday Night Football compared to the Carolina Panthers, who, hung on for an epic win on Monday night. So the public might be leaning towards Carolina, but I think everyone knows how good Aaron Rodgers is. Neddy and I were speaking, before the pod about the fact that, generally you can make money by going against these marquee quarterbacks just because, ESPN, social media just builds these guys up as their superstars, and like Tom Brady. And usually, yes, they're good, but the smarter players to go against them. But I think the exception to the rule is Aaron Rodgers, because I think he's every bit as good as advertised. He's just so good. And you do just kind of think, like, gun to my head, after that loss, I think he comes out and just finds a way to will the Packers to win, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, and usually you do there is a trend in sports where if a team has a really long win streak and then they do lose one, they kind of fall flat the next game. But this is different, I think. The Packers, obviously Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed off that Denver just fucking belted him last week. But in saying that, I really don't want to bet the Panthers just because of the way that Green Bay played last week. They're going to come out fired up, I think. But at the same time, look, this Panthers team is legit. They're not going to go undefeated the whole season, but Jesus Christ, at home they're getting a few points. I'd really need to see this line at 3 to even think about taking Panthers, but I am just going to watch this one play out. I think it's going to be a cracking game. I'm going to have no skin in the game.
Yeah, Neddy, you said that the Green Bay offense might not be as good as everyone thinks. Their defense probably isn't as good as everyone thinks, because like a week or two ago, they had about the best defensive stats in the league in terms of like yards allowed or points allowed. But I think that's because Aaron Rodgers is on the field for so long, with these long drives, that other teams just aren't getting heaps of opportunities to put up points. I don't know. I don't think the Green Bay D is elite, but when you have Aaron Rodgers, you can win any game on any given Sunday.
Yep. Neddy Given Sunday.
Yeah. Neddy Given Sunday. Yeah, I believe it. I think last week was more them flat. Like they were not up for that game. Denver came in. It was a statement game for them. I think Green Bay just they should have looked like they cared, but I think this game is probably going to be a little bit more to them, considering the conferences on the line that week off. This is important to them, so I think they might be more turned up to this game than last week.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Plus, that's the best game that Denver's played all season by far. Not only their defense, but Peyton Manning's throwing long, deep balls that usually his shoulder doesn't allow him to do. Next up, we got the 49ers hosting the Falcons. God, I wish I got on this early. It's -7 to the Falcons, and the over-under sitting at 45. This opened 4. We should have just jumped on that straight away. That's dumb.
Yeah, we probably should have. They obviously benched Kaepernick. I've got a quick funny story for you guys.
Oh, no.
And again, I actually still am a Kaepernick believer. I don't know what's wrong with me.
No, there's so much wrong with you.
All these guys, Kaepernick, RG3, Manziel, I was betting against all of them when they were all being hyped up, and they were burning me. And I still remember having money on Green Bay in the playoffs against San Francisco a couple of years ago, and Kaepernick running for about 800 yards,
Yep.
And I still think he has potential, but in the off season, he was posting a few photos on Instagram, and I thought that's a good opportunity to mention that the pod is now on Instagram.
Yes.
So check us out. We've got American followers now, which is cool.
Nice segue.
So Kaepernick posted a photo of him with his shirt off on Instagram and flexing the abs and stuff, and he wrote 300 sit-ups, weight room, ab crunches.
Yeah.
This is how you get better and stuff. And some random dude just commented, 300 sit-up or having ripped abs isn't going to help you make a pass on 3rd and 10. And the funniest part was, it's just a random dude, and Kaepernick actually got really pissed off and called him out and said who the fuck are you? You've got 6 followers, not even your family cares what you're doing. And Kaepernick wrote, "Get better at life," which I think that guy would be so stoked. And the irony of it was that after that whole story came out, the guy had a lot more than 6 followers. I mean, that shows how kind of insecure Kaepernick was that he had to reply to that, I thought. And now he's benched.
Can you see Tom Brady replying to something?
No, exactly. I don't think... you know what they say, a lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep. But anyway, I got no real play on this game. We've missed out on a good line there. What do you reckon, Ned?
I think the 49ers are tanking. The fact that they've traded away Davis, their tight end, he's another marquee player. They've thrown him. They've put Kaepernick on the bench. They're playing Gabbett, whose history says he is one of the worst quarterbacks ever, just as bad, if not worse, than Ryan Leaf. I think they said he's sacked every 10 times he drops back. That's how bad he is. So, it makes you wonder whether or not the organisation actually wanted this to happen, if they're just looking to move on in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, sad times for the 49ers. And, I mean, maybe just a quick mention to Hayne. Everyone's kind of feeling pretty bad for Hayne. I don't think this is the end. I know he didn't get picked up off waivers straight away, but I don't know, running backs are getting injured every week. I think he showed enough. I know he fumbled 3 times in 20 touches, whatever it was, 20 punt returns. I still think somebody else will give him a shot, and it could be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and he's a determined motherfucker. The guy's saying, once I figure the game out, I'm going to be really good. And plus the fact, maybe you just have him as your 4th string, punt returner or something like that. But just from a marketing standpoint, surely it makes sense for them to have you on, as one of your 53 on the roster. The guy's selling jerseys like they're going out of style.
That's it. How do you see the Hayne scenario playing out, Ned?
I think the media is probably making it a lot worse too. I think anyone that takes him on realises there's going to be so much baggage. As soon as he got cut, it went absolutely crazy. And I don't think he's done enough to be cut. I know a team that's that bad, they can't afford to have fumbles here and there that he's doing. But he's the best thing that's happened to a team all season. Their own fans are saying it. They've lost so much heart because of it. So I think he'll be fine. He's got plenty of talent there. We've all seen it.
Yeah, and I just think there's a few stories out that Newcastle Knights are trying to get him, Roosters are trying to get him. I think that's all way ahead of themselves. I don't think he's giving up this early. Look at how much he's achieved in the last few months to actually get first team snaps in meaningful games. Not just garbage time, but to make a roster and get opportunities and make yards. He's not going anywhere yet.
Yeah, agreed. Next up, we got the Buccaneers hosting the Giants. This line, the Buccaneers are +2.5 at home, and the total sitting at 48.
I don't have much to say about this, but I kind of like the Bucs. Don't really see it play though.
I love the Bucks. I don't love.
Say that. I can't believe that game last week against the Saints with like the Giants that just throw 6 touchdowns and not even win the game. Like
Ridiculous.
These are just 2 bad teams. I'd love to see what the line would have been had the Giants won that and had the Falcons not played an absolutely atrocious game against the Bucks last week.
Yeah,
it'd be totally different.
This line would be 3.5, and I really hope it gets to 3 so I can play the Bucks. I don't know if it will because I think the public's going to be all over the Giants. But that was a heartbreaking loss for them. They were up 7, in the final 2 minutes, and then they just absolutely capitulated, and then happened to lose that game in normal time.
They were actually up 7 with 40 seconds to go and lost in regulation.
Crazy.
It's pretty funny.
Crazy.
And what you got to know about the Giants, I still think, I believe in Eli, and I think he's still a really good QB at the back end of his prime. He's got weapons like, Beckham Jr., and the defense is in tatters. Pierre Paul's still looking for his finger.
Good God.
Prince Anikamara, his name's Prince, but he's not a prince. He's out. That's a team that you can just make money every week betting the over because they will put up points, but they can't stop anyone.
Yep. And the total's sitting at 48, which is a good number. Under that 49 is, you tend to like to get that one. So, I don't know. I like the Bucks if it gets to 3, but no play at the moment. Next up, we got the Colts hosting the Broncos. Colts getting +5 at home. The total 45.
To me, this game is all about Andrew Luck. And you watched the complete Monday night match, Neddy. So can you tell us, how did he look? Like, how's that shoulder?
Like they're carrying on about him being hurt, but in the dying stages of that, like the last couple of drives, and even in overtime, like he lost that game for them 4 times. There was 3 picks that definitely should have been grabbed by Carolina, and one of the throws was double coverage against Norman and Coleman, our safeties. Like, bad mistakes. The Kuechly drop could have easily been an interception. So I think it's still the decision-making. Like, I've read some places that this came out as 3, and I would have jumped straight on that for Denver. I don't think the Colts are that good, and I think they're sort of in turmoil. Didn't they fire their offensive coordinator as well? Short week been around.
That's it.
No.
Yeah, but
I don't see it happening.
And I agree, but we probably all agree that Denver aren't as good as advertised either. They're, especially on offense, they're not the team that they were a couple of years ago. But that defense is nasty too.
Yeah, the defense is nasty, but I mean, laying 5 points with Denver away from home when Peyton's, struggling to throw the deep ball. I know he did really well last week, but you are paying a bit of a tax on Denver this week after what they did last week. But the Colts, there's just too much uncertainty. I didn't watch the whole game, Ned, but I did see the highlights, and it just looks like Andrew Luck's throwing motion looks a little bit off. It looks like he's sort of labouring a little bit. I'll just wait to see what happens in this game because I don't know. Like at the moment, it doesn't seem like his shoulder's getting any better, does it?
No, and you want to believe in that because I mean it's Andrew Luck, but I really think they're just not that good of a football team, and there's just so many things that sort of went their way towards the end with penalties and stuff like that sort of helped them get a roll on, and Carolina just got no pass rush whatsoever, and that's not what Denver's about. They'll just keep coming all day long.
And we did learn just a typical NFL betting lesson in that game. It happens every single week. A team has a lead and they just get ultra conservative. When they've got the ball, they just run it up the middle. When they're playing defense, they're playing that prevent where everyone's back and they're giving up the 10-yard pass. And they don't want to lose the game in one play, but they're inviting the other team back in. And you see it time and time again. You get those backdoor covers where one team's clearly better. They get a big lead. They know they're 90% or higher chance to win the game. But the other team covers through the back door because the other team just goes guns blazing.
Yep.
And that's why we do love taking the points a lot of times because you can cover. You've always got to get in that back door, Bo.
Yeah, we love the back door. And yeah, Jacob, you were saying you're looking at live odds at one point. They were what? The Colts were 67 to 1 to win that game. Yeah, at one point
when it was 17, when the Panthers were up 17 with a pat to come, the odds were 67 to 1, and you couldn't even get $1.01 on the Panthers. They stopped taking bets on the Panthers.
Crazy. That would have been the comeback of the season.
Came all the way back to Indianapolis, were $1.50 favourites when they were driving the field, and it was next points win. So yeah, that's crazy. That's why we love football.
All right, Sunday night. This is my play of the week. The Cowboys hosting the Eagles. The Cowboys getting +2.5 at home. The total sitting at 44.5.
I think this will be an interesting one to discuss, Neddy, because you told me you were licking your lips looking at this game. But I think we've got a differing opinion on this. But why don't you tell us how you see this one?
Any game that I've sort of seen of Dallas, and it started even in week one, they've had really good motor on defence. Like any player that's getting the ball, they'll sort of swarm to it. And even though I don't think the Seahawks are that good, I still think that sort of what they did and how they performed last week was pretty resilient. And I think they're cotton on to the Eagles. They know what the Eagles are doing, even though they've had a week off. They're not coming at them with any fancy sort of crap. Like, the Cowboys know how to beat them. McFadden was running a lot better last week, and I'm pretty sure last I heard the left tackle for the Eagles is injured, and he's probably their second best player on offense.
That's Peters,
so
is it?
Up against, Peters, yeah. So Hardy up against that, and Hardy is just unstoppable at the moment. So I think Dallas just need to win this football game. They really do, and I think they're going to lay it all out for it.
Yeah, Hardy's an exemplary human being, that's for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree with you. Like, I see Dallas is a very good defense. They've got a really good offensive line, which I think we were talking about this with Ev Sanity earlier. Like, when you have a great offensive line, it just gives you a lot of time in the pocket. I think he was saying Matt Castle spends more time in the pocket than Botha's money, and Botha never shouts.
True.
So that's a lot of time. But he couldn't do anything with it. So you've got the better all-round team at home, desperate for a win. They're 2-5 or something like that. But I'm going to be playing Philly because Philly's equally desperate for a win here. Dallas already beat Philly in Philadelphia, so that's that phenomenon I was talking about of the relatively evenly matched teams, kind of that road revenge. I do think the bye matters in the NFL, especially
I think so too.
With Philly, with a new quarterback under centre. I'm a Bradford believer as well. I still remember the talent he had at Oklahoma, and I think we can still justify that maybe he just had injuries at the Rams and maybe could have been, a star QB. He was picked number 1 in the draft, let's not forget. So I think he's getting a little bit better every week. He didn't look good at all 2 weeks ago, but that was against an extremely impressive Carolina secondary.
Yep.
So I think Chip Kelly, Bradford put their heads together. I think Philly's defense is good enough to stifle the Cows who can't really score too many points. I just think Philly wins this game.
Yeah, Philly coming off the bye, I think it's underrated. I know the Carolina defense is absolutely brutal, and they played them, obviously 2 weeks ago. They had that loss. They're going to be seething over that loss for 2 weeks. Obviously, Dallas coming off just a heartbreaking loss against the Seahawks last week, and there is a trend that teams coming off, playing the Seahawks, whether they win or lose, they have a really, really shitty record against the spread. And I don't know exactly why that is. It might just be because the Seahawks D is just absolutely monstrous. But I really like the Eagles in this spot. I see that -2.5 it opened. Money's already flooded in for the Eagles. I think if you like the Cowboys, Neddy, wait, you'll find a 3. But I played them straight up at $1.78, and I'm going to ride that all the way to the bank.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Monday night, we got the Chargers hosting the Bears. Chargers laying -4 and the total sitting at 49.
How do you see this last game of the round, Ned?
What a shit Monday night game.
I know, isn't it atrocious? I think with Keenan Allen out, I think he tore his kidney or liver or something like that. Something real weird. So he's out for the rest of the season. And they said he's the 3rd most targeted wide receiver in the NFL.
Wow.
For 90% of the snaps. So that's going to throw out Rivers' timing straight away. I don't think the Bears are playing as bad as sort of what people perceive, and I think the whole general public just assumes the Bears stink. So I think there's probably a bit of value actually going in the Bears there.
Yeah, but we thought earlier in the year that the Bears were tanking, and I feel like I've stayed off the Bears because of that. And I feel like the week I play the Bears, they'll drop a stink bomb. So I don't like the Bears, but then I'm not going to lay 4 points with the Chargers. The other issue you have, the Chargers are probably going to leave San Diego. They don't have any home field advantage. Half the time, there's more away fans in the stadium than home fans. So there is no such thing as home field advantage with them. So
'cause they won't be there next year.
Yeah, and are they 4 points better? Probably not, but I don't have a play on the game. What about you, Bo?
Oh, look, I think you're right, Nick. I cannot for the life of me lay 4 points with a shitty Chargers side. I think the Bears are the right side, but then you look at the Bears. They're in a perfect situational spot last week to win. They're playing the Vikings. They had the bye week, and they just could not get it together. I know they lost, 23-20 was a close game, but in a perfect spot, the Bears can't even deliver. So I think you're right. The Bears are the right side, but I just cannot bring myself to do it after what I saw last week.
Yeah, and that's the round. That's it. No, you don't get rich betting on bad teams. And this pod has been a bit like the Carolina Indy game. It's been epic, and it's gone overtime. But we better just talk real quickly about a couple more things.
Nice one.
Did you like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, as you've heard, Neddy knows all about every team and the players. We've been following it closely. I know both has been getting up 3 a.m. when your missus is still asleep.
I've been so tired lately.
You've been just...
I get up at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning to watch college. I get up at 3 a.m. to watch Red Zone on a Monday morning and then go to work.
Red Tube.
Red Tube. Yeah.
He's been watching Red Tube 3
Red Zone,
a.m. while his missus is asleep.
Yeah.
That's going to tire a man out.
It's brutal. It's 5 hours of football before I get up and do stuff during the day, and then I've got to go to work. Yeah, it's catching up to me, man.
So we've all had our eye on a couple of future bets. How about this? All right, each of us just say who's going to win each conference, and then maybe if you've got like a sleeper or a value pick. So Neddy, give us kind of who's winning coming out of the NFC and the AFC, and is there kind of an under-the-radar or value outsider that could sneak through?
I think the Panthers, believe it or not, their schedule's way too easy. It is so easy. And I think the team that sort of just sneaks in there, I really do like Minnesota. They're well-balanced. AFC, can't go past the Pats. And I think the Jets probably sneaking there at a wild card spot too. They're doing a lot of good things on offense and defense.
You can probably still get a good price on the Panthers if you do think they're going to go all the way. And if they can win this week, they're probably looking at home field advantage and a bye through the playoffs. So then they're absolutely a shot.
Mate, Tom Holland, he put, I can't remember how much, I think he put $50 on at the start of the season for the Panthers to win the conference.
There you
go.
How
much was that paying?
Jeez, that would have been around double digits. Would have been around 10-1 at least.
Yeah, I'll have to get on him and get him to post it.
Yeah.
He's pretty chuffed with himself at the moment.
Yeah,
bloody oath.
Shout out to Tomo. What about you, Bo?
Yeah, I think you're right. You cannot go past the Pats there. I think, as a sleeper, I think Cincy is really, really playing well. I think they'll be there right at the end. I mean, yeah, obviously, NFC, Packers, they are looking best at the moment, even though they lost to Denver. But in saying that, I think, you know what I think? I think the Seahawks are going to make a good run towards the end of the season. I really think they've played worse than they have. I know last year, you remember they won like 8 games in a row to close out the season. I think, maybe they're not the same team that they were then, but I really think that they've been playing, under their ability, and I think they'll finish the season strong.
And I can find holes in all of the big favourites, and it's always good if you can find a hole.
True.
The Pats, you said you can't go past the Pats. Yeah, if we're putting gun to our sack, we're taking the Pats to win, but there's no value there. In the AFC,
like $2.50.
You know who I like that no one else does? It's the Houston Texans. I have not given up on them. Now that Hoyer's under centre, I'm just telling you, don't forget about JJ Watt. The guy isn't human. Don't forget about Clowney. I remember what he did in college. That team can win 7 or 8 games, and they can win their division. And then they're going to have home field in the first week of the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
100-1. That's not bad. And in the NFC, a couple of sleepers as well. I already mentioned the Rams, and I think their value. I think they can win that division. So same story. And the Philly Eagles. No one, earlier in the year it was a bit of a nice sleeper pick. A bit of a popular pick.
People love the Eagles.
Everyone's gone off the Eagles now. I haven't given up yet. So maybe I just don't give up on things.
No, you don't. You don't.
No, I just keep going.
Yes,
I should give up long before.
You do, yeah.
And that's true in my personal life and in my betting. So take that for what you will.
Yep.
But they're my tips. We better let you go, Ned. We appreciate you coming on during the day.
Anytime.
I know we planned
look forward to your ride up.
We absolutely do. We were planning on having a few beers and and doing the pod like that. I know
Christmas party.
Yeah, well, we certainly will.
We'll do one of those.
And I think you did extremely well as we knew you would today, and that was without drinking beers because I take Spanish classes and we actually drink wine in the class because it just kind of helps you speak more free flying, and I think alcohol is such a good lubricant.
Yep. Yeah.
And when we don't, we usually have a beer when we do the pod.
Yes.
And sometimes when we don't, it's just a bit more dry.
Yeah. And you never want to go in dry.
No. So.
Well.
No. So you've done well today, Neddy, going in dry, but definitely this won't be the last time. We'll get you back on a little later in the year. Appreciate your time, brother.
Present, boys. Thank you.
Cheers.
See you, mate.
See ya.
All right, we've gone well over time here, longer than we expected, so we'll let you guys go. We'll be coming out with our picks probably tonight at some point, and then we'll have, probably some college players as we think, and then there's a few marquee matchups this weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, this pod will be out on a Thursday night. The picks maybe not till tomorrow.
Yeah.
So hang tough while we, sort them out and find the best lines for you guys.
Yep.
It's not often that we see things that are longer than we expected.
Very true.
But this pod has gone 45 minutes. That's quite enough.
Yep.
Guys, we're 177 and 106.
That is crazy.
63% on, nearly 300 plays. Neddy's at 60%, and Neddy's, picking every TV game. He's not even just picking where he sees the value, and he's only taking sides. I can't emphasise how impressive that is. And you heard, how much knowledge the guy has.
As we've said before, professionals get paid to tip 55%. They advertise that, and people pay them $100 per pick, and they tip 55%. Neddy's sitting at 60.
Yeah, it's incredible. There was no Ev Sanity ad this week. He's on a one-match ban after he spoiled The Bachelorette to you.
Fucking little shit.
You sent him a message saying he's dead to you. I don't know if you've, it was raw at the time. Do you feel differently?
No.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
going to take a long time to get over.
Don't be spoiling. Obviously, you've got time differences, and the episode was on an hour earlier in Sydney. He saw the result. He messaged you.
I know he was going through a rough time, but man, you do not have to burden other people with your problems.
No.
Especially in that sort of way. So
yeah.
I hope it never happens again, Evan.
Look, quick shout out to Evo. He's been off the grid a little bit. He has been acting up a bit. He didn't have his iMessage turned on, so he wasn't getting messages. He wasn't getting Tinder messages.
Yeah.
So I feel for the guy there, because
it can be a bit disheartening when you're sending 10 messages to a girl in a row and they don't reply. You know. So
keep your chin up, Ev. You'll be back next week and you'll be stronger.
All right, well, that'll do it for another week of the TryPod. Keep an eye out for our best bets, obviously. Keep an eye out for Neddy's plays. That'll be released sometime soon as well. And hop on there and give us a like, give us a comment.
Most importantly, please
gamble
responsibly.